Peter Soley. I'm here with Representative Kevin Yoder, representing Kansas's 3rd District. Today is Monday, April 18th. It's tax day today.
Big day.
Thank you for meeting with us this morning.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to run through some questions. You can answer them as you'd wish. KDOT is proposing to move their weigh station that is on I-35 between Gardner and Olathe. And they're proposing to move that to the middle of Gardner in some prime development ground. And they will probably use some federal funds to make that move. We are wondering if you're willing to commit to blocking that federal funding. We think there should be a weigh station, but it probably shouldn't be right in the middle of Gardner.
Well, frankly, this is the first I've really been briefed on the issue.
Okay.
So what I usually do in situations like these is really defer to the local folks who are in touch with the issues in Gardner. I had a great morning today kind of visiting with the mayor and the city councilman and some of the economic development folks, but it's something I need to probably learn more about. I would tell you in Washington right now, we've spent so much money that the country's headed towards bankruptcy. So I'm not someone who's up there trying to earmark and plug money in to grow the deficit. It's something that too many folks have done over too much time, and so certainly the idea that we're pushing for a project that the city of Gardner apparently doesn't necessarily want.
They've made a policy decision that they don't want the weigh station.
Well, I certainly am on the side of the folks who live in Gardner. That's where they are, then that's probably where I would be.
Very good. You voted yes on the 2012 Paul Ryan budget. Can you tell the GardnerEDGE viewers what you like most about the Ryan budget and what you were most uncomfortable with?
Well, several important things with the Paul Ryan budget. First of all, it keeps taxes low. In this economy, raising taxes like the president would like to do will only continue the recession we're in. We've got to create jobs back at home in places like Gardner, Edgerton, in this community, and we don't do that by increasing taxes and sending more of our hard-earned money to Washington. So it keeps taxes low. It also cuts about $6.2 trillion off of the deficit. The president has produced a budget that would grow the deficit by $6.2 trillion more than this proposal, and so I think given where we are in our overspending in Washington, the idea that we're going to start cutting spending, getting the budget in line is very important to me. And then finally, it helps create jobs. This budget, by creating some austerity in Washington, by sending a signal to taxpayers and businesses that we're serious about spending, is very important. And getting this budget under control is important for the economic future of our country. Certainly there are a lot of things in there that we still need to really continue to discuss with the American people. Entitlement reform is something that I think Americans still need to learn a lot about. One of the biggest cost drivers in our budget is Medicare, along with Medicaid and Social Security. 2/3 of the budget that we have right now comes from either mandatory spending such as debt and interest or from entitlement spending. Only about 1/3 of the budget are things like domestic discretionary programs or defense. And so helping the American folks understand that these entitlement programs are headed towards bankruptcy. The Congressional Budget Office states that Medicare will be bankrupt in 9 years. These are problems that have to be fixed. And so I think Paul Ryan's laid out a plan in which those 54 and under would move towards a different type of plan that would protect Medicare and Medicaid going forward, but would modify it in a way that it could continue to exist. And so those are plans that I think we still need to go and discuss with the American people and make sure that everyone's comfortable with those. And so we'll continue to have those discussions. But I think the overall plan of cutting spending, balancing the budget, getting our economy in line, those are great goals, and I'm glad that Congressman Ryan's putting forward such an aggressive plan.
Very good. You voted against the 2011 budget compromise. What would have been necessary for you to vote yes?
Well, we're running about a $1.5 trillion deficit this year. We borrow about $5 billion a day. We borrow about 42 cents out of every dollar. Washington has a huge overspending problem. And the proposal, although may have been what the best proposal that the Speaker could have gotten with the President, given the differences between the two parties, to me had too much imprint and too much DNA of the old spending ways of Washington. I think nibbling around the edges is not what the American people sent us to Washington to do. They want us to get serious about spending constraints, serious about balancing the budget, and so I just felt, given the prognosis economically of our federal budget, that merely shaving a little bit off the edges was not enough for me to fully support that plan.
Okay. Gas prices in Kansas, they're approaching $4. Elsewhere, they're much above $4. 15 years ago, President Clinton told us that we shouldn't drill in ANWR because we wouldn't see any benefit for 10 years. Was he right then? And should we drill in ANWR now?
Well, I think we need an all-of-the-above energy policy. We have a tremendous amount of natural resources right here in the United States. We absolutely should be drilling for domestic sources of oil in every area that we have the ability to do so in this country. And so the president's blocked ANWR, the president's blocked Gulf War drilling. They're just now, or Gulf area drilling. That's started to start again now. But as we have put off in this country drilling for domestic sources of energy, we are doing a couple things. One, we're driving up the cost of energy, and two, we're continuing to be reliant on foreign sources of oil, which is I think, a real strategic disadvantage for us. We also have natural gas, which we have huge reserves of in this country, which could provide a lot of energy that we're not utilizing right now. We have the potential for nuclear energy. Coal energy continues to be very useful. It's the most abundant resource of the United States. And so we have wind energy here in Kansas. Many of those things, coal, natural gas, oil, are not being utilized as they could be because of policies coming out of this current administration. And so I'd really like to see us begin to get serious about exploring for domestic sources of energy, drive down the prices, and make us less reliant on foreign sources of energy.
Very good. Nuclear events in Japan have rattled a lot of people that might otherwise have been supportive of more nuclear power. Have you changed your position on nuclear power in the last month?
No, I think nuclear power is certainly something that the United States needs to continue to utilize. I don't think we've built a nuclear power plant in this country for a number of years, maybe a few decades, and so we need to get that process started. We can learn a lot from what happened in Japan. We learn a lot from what's happened in other areas, but certainly as we debate carbon issues in this country, nuclear is a great alternative because it doesn't have the same environmental impact that some suggest that coal and others have, and its impact on global warming. And so I think nuclear's got to be part of our energy mix going forward.
Okay. We're going to keep going until she comes through the door.
Okay, that's fine.
When was it? Probably 20 years ago or 25 years ago, 435 was developed in the middle of Johnson County, and it has been a huge economic development boom for that part of the county. Would you support development of an outer loop for southern Johnson County and western Johnson County?
Well, I think we do need to plan ahead, and I know there are proposals. There's certainly a gateway proposal where we have sort of K7 and 435 and I-35 in that mix. I do believe we need some sort of plan to build the infrastructure going forward. Gardner's population doubled over the last 10 years. Edgerton's growing. Stillwell's growing. This part of the county needs to have a plan for infrastructure. Certainly, we need to make sure that we keep in mind the wishes of the residents who live here. Folks coming out and imposing a huge superhighway in an area in which people moved out here and they didn't really want that type of development, I certainly am sympathetic to. So I think we have to have good balance here. But I think you're correct. I mean, 435 came before the development, and it's been credited with a lot of the success of Johnson County in that we had a plan, we had infrastructure laid out, businesses could work around it, and so. I think having infrastructure out here and having that type of plan would make a lot of sense for the future of the citizens that live here and the entire region.
With budgets being tight and probably no federal money for that project, would you support it as a Turnpike Authority project?
Well, I think that's up to the folks in Kansas to decide at the state level. We have, Washington meddles in a lot of things. They try to meddle in our local schools. They try to meddle in a lot of the local issues. And so I certainly believes that we need a national plan on some of these issues. We need a national energy plan. We need, the interstate system. But certainly when you deal with KDOT and turnpikes and those sorts of things, I'd leave that up to the legislature and the governor to determine what makes most sense.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. All right.